Hey soccer fans, welcome back to the Feed the Fire podcast. I am your host Nick, and tonight after the Chicago Fire draw Atlanta United 0-0, I'm keeping things positive. We're going to go a little different approach than what I usually do and keep things positive. I can't do another negative show. Like, come on, it's just too monotonous, right? But there were a lot of fun things not only in the match, but around the match going on that really brought a positive atmosphere. So I'm going to bring that to you tonight. Then we're also going to look ahead a little bit at the next match against New England Revolution, this time at home, get that rematch. And lastly, I'll catch you up on a little MLS expansion news that came out of Indianapolis and that has kind of got the everyone hates MLS again buzz going. But we'll get to all of that and more right after this. Hey friends and fans, welcome back to another episode of the Feed the Fire podcast. As I mentioned, I'm your host Nick, and we are going to look at the Chicago Fire Atlanta United match and look ahead to the New England Revolution match upcoming. Before we get into that, sorry if the voice is a little scratchy. I've spent several of my last days screaming / coaching up the U8 team that my son plays for, both in practice and at the game, but you know what? It paid off. As much as they like to bunch up and still play a little bit of that herd ball, you get moments of the 8-year-old making a lateral run between the defenders, getting a through ball. You get moments of our center midfielder playing a ball out to the right midfielder on the wing, playing it up the wing to my son, who somehow was able to take a narrow angle and put a shot on frame. Maybe it takes a little bit of a deflection off the keeper, but it ends up going in the far post for his first game of the season. So all the screaming and yelling and the frustration is totally worth it, not only when you see your kids score, but when you see these 8-year-olds put together a sequence. It's like, okay, you're getting through to them. They're learning. They're playing better soccer than they did last session. And of course, my son busted out his trademark patented airplane celebration as he's running down the field. Now, he says he finished with the Ronaldo Sui celebration because, all the kids love Ronaldo right now. But, I told him if I ever see you do that, you're going to be benched. So he's going to not do it again. He's going to keep scoring, hopefully. But yeah, a lot of fun with the U8 game and just a lot of fun at the Chicago Fire match this weekend. Regardless of the result, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, we're keeping things positive. And one of the most fun things to come out of this, doesn't even have to do with this show. I was a guest on the Scarves and Spikes podcast and YouTube channel down in Atlanta last week previewing the match. And I said, I make picks with my head that the Fire are probably going to lose this game 3-1 if Atlanta's offense can get going. Maybe they come up with a draw, 2-2 or so if they can score on Guzan. But I really thought Almada and Yakumakis and would have a good offensive game and open up some space for some other players maybe to score again. We saw what Tiari did the first matchup against the Fire, though he was unavailable for this one. And gosh, if it weren't for Brady, it could have been a bad game. Another repeat of last week against RSL. But one of the hosts, Tommy on Scarves and Spikes, was so confident in Atlanta's ability and so confident in the Chicago Fire's inability. He said that he guaranteed an Atlanta victory, and if they didn't win, he would shave his beard. So he has to now back that up, and a lot of people are holding him to it on social media. So go follow Scarves and Spikes. Give Tommy a little stick that he's got to shave his beard. Now, he said he's going to try and do a fundraiser that if he can hit a certain dollar amount for charity, then he will retain the beard. I don't know why people would want to support. Obviously, you want to support charities, but I want to see this guy shave his beard off. Let's do it. Something to root for. I'm glad we get to see it. And Tommy, let me know when the video is there. Shoot, man. Maybe I'll send you the razor. I'll do a little Amazon order right to your front door. Also, I got to recognize Hive 2.0. They're a hard honey kind of a drink. Had some at the last match. I saw some of the reps again at this match. They're out promoting strong at the Chicago Fire. They're a local company. Their beehives are in the south side of Chicago, and it's a delicious drink. As a Greek, I love my honey. My island of Kythida is known for having excellent honey as well. And so I just wanted to thank them for a little bit more swag, talking to me a little bit more about it, and maybe we'll get a little bit of a sponsorship going. So in the meantime, guys, go find yourself a few cans of Hive 2.0 Hard Honey. Finally, remember to check out Goals TV. Look for Glasshouse Soccer there, where I do a full recap of all the scores from around the league and kind of everything that's on the standings and going on in MLS. Remember to respond to the polls on Spotify. Continue to share the show. Share the link, share the social media, interact, give a like, give a 5-star review. All these little things that take you 10 seconds to do add up in the course of these online algorithms and really help to promote the show to a new audience. So thank you to everyone who's already done that. Let's keep it up. Let's keep the show growing. Let's grow the game and the team through conversation. And with that, let's have a conversation about the Chicago Fire and their match against Atlanta. The first thing I gotta say is, with all the positivity and the fun that was had at that stadium, there were 3 themed events that I took part of and that I was really excited for. The first, it was Zach Thornton's induction into the Ring of Fire, and they went all out. They set up a little stage in the South Courtyard. They had Zach Thornton bobbleheads to give out to everyone. They had new T-shirts with Zach Thornton on it commemorating his time with the Fire. They even went back and released a beanie cap with the original Chicago Fire logo on it for people to come and get. I heard those sold out real quick, so make sure you let your ticket reps or you let your social media folks or whoever it is you know at the Fire, let them know that you want some more of those. I just missed the Ring of Fire ceremony, though. We were coming in early from the tailgate, and of course, you run into 8 people that you know, especially being Greek. You run into people that you know. So I just missed the Ring of Fire ceremony. But again, kudos to the Fire organization. They spread out the supply of bobbleheads. They made sure that all the season ticket members got one, at least to my knowledge. I got my 2 for my 2 season tickets. And also what was cool is they allowed season ticket members and probably some of the fans as well to enter the stadium early for the Ring of Fire ceremony. Then they could kind of check in, check out, if you will, go back out, finish their tailgate, have a good time, and then come back into the stadium. Usually there's no re-entry once you leave, but they made an accommodation so that the fans could come in early, see Zach Thornton, get honored, and then go back out and continue the tailgate. So cool thing there. And again, to piggyback off of that, and something we talked about last week, season ticket members are now able to purchase match day promotional items throughout the 2024 season. So if you don't get them, I don't know if you don't get them, you can go back and purchase them, or if you have to reserve them ahead of time, that I got to get some clarity on. But yeah, for about another $20 after taxes, you'll be able to get all these extra things that are coming out as the giveaways. So again, kudos to the Fire organization for being responsive to fan demands. A lot more fun, though, than getting the bobblehead was getting to see everyone who was there for the Ring of Fire ceremony. And God bless my wife for just trying to keep up with me. I was like a little kid in a candy store running around going, oh my gosh, look, it's Lubos Kubik. Oh, it's CJ Brown. Oh, it's Dave Baldwin. Oh my gosh, look, it's Joe Mansueto and Georg Heitz and Sebastian Pelzer. And I didn't remember in the moment who I was talking to, but as I told my coworkers, they're like, oh, hey, how was the game this week? I'm like, I yelled at a billionaire, and they all kind of laughed. And so so the story goes, we walk in and I see Joe Mansueto, Pelzer, and Heitz, and without thinking, I just yell, Joe! And he keeps walking, Pelzer keeps walking, but Heitz kind of stopped and kind of looked over his shoulder. And so I yelled it again, Joe! George! And they both turn around, and I come up and I put my hand out. They were very gracious to stop, come back, shake my hand. I just, did the cordial fan thing. I said, hey, I've been a fan since '98. I really appreciate what you guys are doing to build up the team, the whole organization, all the resources you're putting into it. I really hope we get a good result tonight. Thank you for all you do. And they just said thank you. But, they took that minute or two. They could have kept walking. They were halfway through their restricted entry gate anyway, but they stopped. And even Heitz kind of signaled to Joe Mansueto, oh, come on back. Someone's yelling your name. So very cool to get to shake their hands and just kind of see them. Again, I'm not saying that all the criticism that's deserved of the front office is now absolved because they took 2 minutes to shake my hand. Not saying that at all. But the fact is they took that minute to interact with me and several other fans before that. So I want to recognize when they do that. And then getting to see Lubos Kubik and CJ Brown. Peter Wilt was there behind all the trophies that the Fire had won over the years. And the handlers were like, come on, guys, we got to get to the specific area. We got to get you here. We got to get, and they just wanted to stop and take pictures with everyone. So I've got pictures with all of them. It's up on Twitter at Glasshouse Soccer. No E in soccer. Thank you, Character Limits and Handle Limits Twitter. But you can go back and find all my posts from yesterday and over the weekend, kind of my match day photo dump, I call it. So go back and you can see those, and you can see all the trophies that were out, the U.S. Open Cup trophies and the MLS Cup trophy. Look, that one looked like it got a little beat up a bit during all the moves between stadiums, but it still is a very cool trophy. The old gold soccer ball with kind of like the laurels coming up on the side that you could lift and hold. The MLS Cup trophy now looks 10 times better, but still, like, that classic piece of history, to be able to see that, get up close with it, shake hands with CJ Brown and Lubos Kubik. The cool thing with CJ Brown, I told him, hey man, been a fan since 98. I remember when you were playing at North Central College. And he's just like, really? I loved playing there. The fans were right on top of us. It was so cool to hear him chanting this and that. And it was fun that even he has those memories going all the way back to those first seasons with the Fire. So very cool that they're still all involved, and it was a lot of fun. The Peter Wilt story, shook his hand, thanked him for what he did for Chicago soccer, and he's like, oh, it's so much fun to be, like, you could tell he was just like back in an old high school reunion having a blast. And he looks at me and goes, is that the bobblehead? And I said, oh yeah, they kept some for the season ticket holders, so yeah, I got mine. He goes, can I see it? What does it look like? Does it really look like Zach Thornton? So I'm sitting there with Peter Wilt in front of me. I'm opening up the bobblehead box, and right as I open it, he goes, you know, it just lost 80% of its value. And he started laughing, and I was like, did you set me up for this, Mr. Wilt? Did you set me up for that? So yeah, I pulled it out, opened it up. He got to take a look at it. He was impressed with the lifelikeliness of it, I suppose. But that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of the positivity that was flowing through not just the South Courtyard, not just with the executives, but all the fans that were there, who were there being a part of it. And the Fire had even expanded some of the pregame activities in the South Courtyard there. From the season opener, they had like soccer tennis, how fast can you kick the ball, bags, some other little games, and that was about it. But now I see there's a giant Carvana booth that they're giving away. So there was like a line of 50, 75 people, you know, by 6 o'clock that were in there already waiting to do this activity, get some free swag. There were a couple other booths. Q101 was there. I was like, oh my gosh, like we really are going back to the 90s here. Though that's not the first time that I've seen Q101 set up. Like I said, Hive 2.0 was there giving out, you know, they couldn't give out alcohol in the stadium, but they were giving out koozies and coupons and flyers and things. So the Fire are slowly expanding what's going on in the South Courtyard. And then it was 90s night on top of it. You know, they put, instead of the Chicago Fire logo next to the big CF97 in the bleachers at the very north end of the stadium, real high up in the 400 section, instead of the logo, they put a Pokeball there for 90s night. They had the Macarena cam, and we're videotaping people in the stands doing the Macarena. The Spice Girls were blaring pregame. Sonic the Hedgehog and Hello Kitty were walking around the concourse saying hi and taking pictures of people. So 90s night, too, was a lot of fun as well. Brought a fun vibe to the stadium, at least. And I know I'm a kid of the 80s, but it's 90s music for me, man. I would have liked a little bit more alternative rock, but, you know, I'll take what they give me at this point. So, again, there was a lot of fun, there was a lot of buzz, and it kind of permeated down onto the field. So getting into the match itself, a decent match, given a 0-0 result, and in one sense, it started off following the typical Fire script, where we see the Chicago Fire come out as a little bit of the better team at home, creating the better opportunities, kind of taking it to the opposition, but then missing those early opportunities, missing a couple sitters, Mueller, Kutsias, who probably had otherwise decent games, but because of those easy misses, and not even getting them on frame, though for Kutsias, he actually hit the frame, though apparently it didn't count as a shot on goal when you hit the crossbar. But, like, you have those missed opportunities, but what was cool, you heard the fans, and it was a good crowd. I forget what the attendance was, but I feel like it was around 18,000 or something that night, tickets sold or announced attendance, whatever. When Kutsias missed that one and hits the crossbar. Now, and it was a tough shot. Like, he should have scored that one. He should have scored it when you're inside the 6-yard box, redirecting a cross. You should score that. Guzan was in a pretty good position, and you're taught in those instances as a striker to strike the ball down. You don't want to strike it level. You don't want to strike it up and have it go over. You don't want to, strike it level, middle, high, because that's when the goalkeeper is diving across and he has a better chance to make the save. So Koutsias did what he's trained to do and what you're coached to do, and that's strike it down. But he almost got over it too much and hit it down, and it went right back up into the crossbar and bounced back out. But if you really watch closely, he angled it down and it got under Guzan's arm. So if he changes the angle, maybe Guzan makes the save. Guzan, am I Spanishing it up enough? Guzan, maybe he makes the save. But you still got to score that. But you heard the entire crowd, when Koutsias missed that, just the huge groan of, oh, man. And you heard some of the guys in my section saying, come on, Koutsias, you got to do better, blah, blah, blah. But right after that, the fans got into it, and they got back clapping, like, good offensive opportunity there. And I'll tell you, whoever brought all the kids' young soccer teams and put them in the north end zone, we got to do that every game, because those kids were getting into it. And I forget if it was the first half or the second half, but those kids, there was like a couple hundred kids and their families, they ended up getting the wave started. And whatever your opinion is of the wave at soccer games or sporting events, it got the fans into it. It got a little bit of the crowd noise going. So there was this real good energy going throughout. Again, despite those early missed sitters. A couple other opportunities that the Fire squandered then throughout the match. What I thought was shocking is Tom Barlow, when he came on as a late second half sub, he had a rip from a tight angle that either just went wide or did it hit the post. And that could have just opened things up completely. For Tom Barlow to come in as a late game sub and possibly get the game winner would have changed the entire dynamic of this match, if not the entire season and the entire makeup of the team, right? If Barlow's getting late winners. Gutierrez could not get a clean look. He did try to shoot, and I really like that he had the confidence to come in off the bench and come in and try to win the game. My criticism of Gutierrez, though, is when he's getting the ball on the edge of the 18, he is always cutting onto his right foot and trying to set up his right foot. And he did it the first time when I thought he could have taken a shot with his left foot if he was better with it. Or other people said he should have laid it off to Jonathan Dean, who was making the overlapping run on the outside. Now, the criticism there is, yeah, I'd rather have Gutierrez try and cut it in and shoot than Jonathan Dean try to play across. Okay, fine, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. What's the better outcome? We don't know. But Gutierrez cut back from seemingly an okay look on his left foot to take a bad look on his right foot because the defender was there and blocked the shot. So then the next time he got the ball in the same chance, the defenders just sat on his right foot, and they anticipated it correctly. He cut back again on his right foot and literally dribbled into two defenders to try and get a shot off on his right foot. So that positive confidence, looking to score, looking to take control of the game, win it for the Fire late, getting his shot off in that kind of spot, just off center, edge of the 18. That's all the positive. The negative is he's got to learn to do something with his left foot as well, or, maybe try and take the defender on and then get around the defender for a right-footed shot if they're going to be sitting on his right foot that entire time. Maybe try some of these little flicks if, Kuipers is making a run, or if Dean or whoever is overlapping on the left. Preferably it's Gutman. Preferably it's Kuipers coming in from the inside or Koutsias on the inside. But that's one thing now that Gutierrez needs to continue to develop, is not just cut on the right foot and shoot, but how can he turn that opportunity to trick the defenders and make something else out of it. So, again, a lot of positivity seeing the offense, seeing these guys come out with the mindset that we can take it to Atlanta United, that we can get these early goals. That was one of my question marks after such a terrible performance against RSL, after the team had kind of seemingly fallen apart on the field, when they're arguing with each other during live play, when the coaching staff looked to be completely out of ideas, when the injury bug bites them. It would have been easy for the Fire just to kind of mail it in and play for a draw. But they came out with a point to prove. And that was encouraging in those first 10 minutes. Additionally, what was encouraging from the coaching staff, from Frank Klopas, again, I told you it was going to be a positive night here. And I didn't say anything about John Donovan being positive. You'll maybe hear a little bit of a negative from him in his segment. Welcome back, John. Great to have you back after your trip to Europe. But Klopas changed the starting lineup. They went to a 4-4-2. Obviously, Brady in goal. And from left to right, you had Andrew Gutman making his first start since game one, who looked great, brought an entirely new dimension to the team, an attacking dimension at that. You had Chihos and Salquist as your center backs and Aragoni out on the right wing. Now, Salquist, we'll get to him in a second. Chihos had a good game. He seemed to have improved upon his little dip in form over the last couple matches. Aragoni, another solid performance. Looked like he was working well with Mueller and Acosta and Kuipers. Now, he did commit a lot of fouls and ended up getting, if in and of itself it was a cheap yellow, but 2 minutes before that, the referee had warned him, and the referee, oh my goodness, and John will comment on him too, but the referee who made a spectacle of himself and talking to Aragoni, he's literally gesticulating, arms waving around and circling in this. And yes, Aragoni did commit a lot of fouls. They were all very tic-tac fouls. The yellow card may have been the worst foul, but even then, in and of itself, not worthy of a yellow card. But the referee had to make a point to say, persistent infringement, and, you're kind of jawing at me, I'm going to give you yellow and let you know who's boss. So I did not appreciate how the referee handled that. And there were a couple instances when Aragoni was called for a foul that the referee just kind of sat and said, I don't know, do I want to call it? Oh, you know what, it's him, I'll blow the whistle. Let me see if the Atlanta player falls down first before I call the foul. So there was definitely some questionableness on how he handled the game and controlled it. Getting back to Salquist, I thought Salquist had an okay game. And I say that in the context of Atlanta really targeted him. They really tried to play down the Chicago Fire's right side, trying to catch Aragoni, who's maybe pushing up into some attacking positions and playing a little bit more of that winger role, pushing up, right? Attacking Salquist on the counterattack or taking advantage of if the Fire only had 2 or 3 in the back. So I thought he played okay given the fact that Atlanta really picked on him. But on Atlanta's goal that was ruled back for offside, whether it was or not, I don't know. I'll leave that one up for instant replay on MLS. But he kind of got caught ball watching because it looked like the initial shot that Giacomakis was going to take was going to go in. I mean, it's point blank. Giacomakis makes those 99% of the time. Brady comes up with a ridiculous save. I don't know how he pulled this one out of his goalkeeping bag of tricks. But the ball goes right to the man that Salquist should be marking on the rebound, and he just volleys it in one time. So had Salquist stuck to his man instead of looking at the play and saying, Giacomakis is going to score this one, he would have been able to prevent that rebound goal. Offside bailed him out on that one a little bit. So, I will say an okay game, given the fact that Atlanta really went after him in the first half. And, of course, he ends up coming out right in the 90 plus 1 minute with what looked like to be a real bad injury. Nobody really saw exactly how it happened on the field. And to the credit of the cameramen at Soldier Field, they're not showing replays of that. I have not gone back and tried to watch it on Apple Plus or on MLS Season Pass. And to quote Joe Chats, to paraphrase Joe Chats of OnTap Sportsnet, you do not want to go back and watch that injury. So what I think happened, and again, I'm speculating based on just what happened in the stadium, it looked like he went in for a slide tackle, and he either gets stepped on by the opposing player and on his knee, or his knee, his studs get caught in the ground and his knee completely twists. He had to be carried off on the stretcher. It did not look good. He was down probably for 4 or 5 minutes before they cleared him off the field. So hopefully Salquist it's not as bad as it looked or as it felt or it sounded, but we'll have to stay tuned to the Chicago Fire press coverage, especially on Wednesday and definitely on Friday when the injury report comes out. So keep that in mind. Keep your fingers crossed for him. Say a prayer for him. A guy who needed a bounce-back game after the season he's had and coming back from concussion, who looked to almost have that and now gets injured again. So that was the 4-man back line. The 4-man midfield, left to right. Fabian Herbers, Captain Ferbers in this game, gets the armband from Shaqiri, who was out with injury. Mauricio Pineda, Kellen Acosta in the middle, and Chris Mueller out on the right. And then you had the dual forwards of Yorgos Koutsias and Hugo Kuipers. I really like this. I love that the coaching staff came out with the 4-4-2. Now, I hope they looked at their team and went, how can we better utilize our talent? This is what we need to do. I'd even settle for this is the way we have to attack Atlanta or defend against Atlanta. What I hope the conversation was not, I should say, was, well, everyone's hurt. I guess we just got to roll this out and see what happens. Because the 4-4-2 seemed to work. I love Pineda pairing with Kellen Acosta. I think right now those are our two center mids, best defensive midfielders, center mids. Definitely better than Jimenez and Navarro, and definitely better than having Fabian Herbers slide to the inside so you can get Gutierrez and Shaqiri on the pitch at the same time. So I like Acosta and Pineda. They played really well. They controlled the middle of the field for long stretches of the game and were able to get the ball out to the wings and the attacking players in Herbers and Mueller. The only thing that I think actually looked out of sync was Fabian Herbers. I think he was the one guy who just wasn't feeling the flow with his teammates. Gutman and Pineda were looking for Kutsias, not Herbers. And Acosta and Mueller, they were looking for Kuipers. Or when Kuipers would drop into kind of that deep-lying striker, Kutsias would then come up over the top. So instead of being side-by-side as a two-striker, they were like 1-1. It was almost like a 4-4-1-1 at times. And Kuipers, man, the guy's got a motor. And that's what I liked, seeing him play. Because it was, I think, emblematic of the rest of the team. Is emblematic the right word? Symptomatic? I don't know what I'm saying here. You're going to get the point, though. Because Kuipers came out as determined as anyone to prove a point and to play well and to really help his team win this game, even if he's not going to get another goal on the season. And he really pressed the Atlanta defense and midfield. He really wanted to drop back and create some combination play, some small combination play with Acosta and Pineda, and that in turn did draw some of those Atlanta center backs forward, giving Kutsias the space to run behind for those through balls and those long balls. And that's what we need. We don't need Shaqiri picking the ball up in midfield, turning and lobbing it forward. We need a little bit of that build-up play to draw the defense out to allow the space for the strikers to run in behind, and we almost got the goals as a result of it. So I think that was an excellent lineup for the night. I think the players came out motivated when there were questions about how dedicated they were. Is it any surprise that Shaqiri's out and the team has another amazing, maybe is not the right, is too strong a word, but is it any surprise that the team is out, that Shaqiri is out and the team plays better without him? Probably not at this point in his tenure. I think we all know that. Maybe there's a little bit of the Belgian Heritage Night, Greek Heritage Night magic going on with the strikers. Could have used a little bit more magic to get a goal, but that's what I saw on the night. Just to wrap up some of the play, Chris Brady, man of the match for me. Like the point-blank saves he made, the reactionary saves he made, they left the Atlanta attackers literally scratching their heads. I forget who had that point-blank header that he knocked away. Like the player he puts the jersey in the mouth and is like biting it because he's so frustrated to score. He's got his hands on his head like pulling his hair out like, how did that not go in? And the one on Giacomakis that was called back for offside. Like some other big saves. Chris Brady just has the instincts of a mongoose. The quickness of him as well. I can't imagine. Does Chris Brady have a name? Does anybody want to call him the mongoose? Does he have a nickname? I don't know. We could probably come up with something better than mongoose though. But that's what I will use to describe his instincts and his reflexes. And looking at things on the Atlanta side of the ball, I'll wrap up my general narrative here with this. Watching Brad Guzan take a goal kick is like watching paint dry. How long does it take someone to take a goal kick? Because as long as it takes someone, add more time for Brad Guzan. He takes so long to do anything. He's quick to scream at his defenders, and he's quick to scream at the referee, but taking a goal kick? Oh my goodness. Gosh, get the guy a walker and a cane already. It's taking him that long to do it. Also, coming into this game, I thought Giacomakis was going to have at least one and have a lot of opportunities. I thought they'd look for him, especially in counter and transition, because we know the Fire defense has struggled with that. And on set pieces, he's great in the air as well. Without Turan and Salquist isn't as good in the air as his size, as you'd want him to be for his size. So I thought he was going to get a lot more looks than he did. I thought he'd score at least one. I thought he'd have a kind of a Chicho Arango game against the Fire, a goal or two, an assist or two. But early on, he got very frustrated with the officiating and with his teammates, and I think this is becoming more and more a flaw in his game. He gets frustrated, he gets disengaged, he spends more time sitting on the pitch pouting than trying to get up and get back in the play. Hugo Kuipers could be that guy too. He could have sat and complained about all the fouls he didn't get, about the service he's not getting, but he decides to come back and put in the effort week in and week out. Yakumakis, does he feel like he needs to have more goals? Absolutely. He should have more goals for a player of his caliber and what he did last season, and for a team like Atlanta, give or take some injuries, who can get him the service, but he cannot have these mental lapses, these frustrations, this disengagement, because it's not helping him out. By the way, Thiago Almada, still really, really good. Had some really good moments there that you just think like, wow, this guy really is one of the best players in the league if he can keep doing this on a consistent basis. Still really good despite the 0-0 scoreline. So with kind of my narratives out of the way there, and wow, we're already running on for a half hour. Let's quick recap some of these statistics here, and then we will move on to some of our other talking points this week. So the Fire ended up with 38.5% of possession, 10 shots, 0 on goal. So there's your negative. There's your goose egg, the thing that people who want to rip on the Fire are going to rip on. Still 0 shots on goal despite a lot of that early offensive pressure. They did not end up blocking 5 shots. Atlanta blocked 3. I think 2 of them were Gutierrez. Only 321 total passes, 78% passing accuracy. So they were trying to play in some of those forward areas. 3 corners. No free Portillos for everybody. You need 5 corner. If the Fire get 5 corner kicks, they get free Portillos. They're just waiting till after Greek Easter and I can eat meat again. I'm sure they'll do it again after that. 9 crosses, 1 offside, 15 duels, aerial duels won compared to Atlanta's 21. So that was something that the Fire, they needed to start playing the ball a little bit more on the ground and try to get something out of it. Expected goals, 1.2. So there were some decent opportunities there. Brady came up with 6 saves, 15 clearances for the Fire defense, 9 fouls, and a yellow card. Let me see if there's any other statistics to throw our way here. So we said the Fire had 38.5% possession. The MLSsoccer.com website breaks down 5-minute intervals and who has the majority of possession in each interval. The Chicago Fire only had the majority of possession in one 5-minute interval, and that was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that was like around the 30 to 35 minute mark, or the 25 to 30 minute mark. Even those first 10 minutes of the game, Atlanta was favored in possession. So the Fire were getting their counterattacking opportunities, and playing with that 4-4-2 certainly favored that. Now, the last little bit of positivity that I want to say before we take our halftime water break here is it was Greek night. You guys know it. I've been saying it for a couple weeks here. It was Greek night. It was a lot of fun. I purchased the Greek night meet and greet scarf and add-on to my season tickets. There was a lot of people out. Shout out to the Hellenic Academy. Shout out to my cousin who couldn't make it. Gia, come on. You should have been there. I understand you got other things going on. But we missed you. The Hellenic Academy bought up a big block of tickets, and there were special ticket prices to that included the ticket, as well as the meet and greet and the scarf. But I already had my season tickets, so the Fire have options for the add-ons, like I said, which is fantastic. Now, sidebar real quick here. I spoke to certain employees with the Chicago Fire who were involved in promoting these events, a number of them. And they all said, yeah, we didn't do as good of a job as we could have in promoting this event, because there were a lot of people who would have bought the add-on package to meet the players. For the Greek night package, you got to meet Frank Klopas and Yorgos Koutsias, take pictures, get autographs, and it was also Belgian Heritage Night, so you got a meet and greet with Hugo Kuipers if you bought the ticket package or the add-on. So they know they've got to promote it better, because I bet there are a lot of people who would have loved to just add that onto their ticket, or would have come to a game if you get the opportunity to meet the $12 million designated player, or to meet one of your ethnic players that you support or maybe have followed overseas. So the other thing, my wife, who's in marketing, decided to remind all these Chicago Fire employees that, by the way, this is what I do for a living, and that's my husband who's promoting things on his podcast that's going out to several hundred people at least on a weekly basis in the Chicago area. And let's try to grow that, guys. Let's try to grow that number. Who's making guest appearances on shows all around the country, right? Let's get it going. They took down her info, and I'm thinking next year for Greek night, we do lamb roast, we get some ouzo flowing. I'll let you know, so keep following along here. The only downside to it was, like a typical Greek event, it was running on Greek time. Klopas and Koutsias were like 45 minutes late to the meet and greet. Now, I'm sure they were doing their post-game press stuff, and Koutsias wanted to freshen up a little bit, which, by the way, he's a handsome man. Like, can I say that? Is that fine? Like, I'm just going to recognize that here. Yorgos Koutsias, that's a handsome guy. But what was fun about the meet and greet as well, Frank Klopas was wishing everyone Kali Anastasi, which is a good or blessed resurrection. It's a Greek saying for prior to Orthodox Easter, we say during Lent. And I held up the Greek flag, and there's a picture again out on Twitter of my wife, Koutsias, Klopas, and myself. We got the Greek flag up. And then Klopas starts singing the Greek national anthem, and we started a little sing-along for a minute or two there. It was a lot of fun. Koutsias was very nice, autographing a little soccer ball here. This was my nice $5 pickup at Walmart right beforehand. There's Koutsias' signature, and we got Klopas' signature here. So appreciate them taking the time to do it, and hopefully Koutsias can start banging in those goals. Hopefully Klopas can start getting a few results around, and then maybe we can have these big Greek nights in the future again. And again, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It was a very exciting night, a lot of good vibes. It doesn't take away the fact that the criticism of the coaching staff and some of the play of Koutsias got to convert some of these goals eventually. When you're getting touches in the 18 as a striker, you got to get goals as a striker. So the criticism is still there, but I will tell, just like the organization, everything off the pitch is wonderful. Got to just get that final piece on the pitch. Okay, with that, let's take our water break here and recognize our sponsor, Skira Icelandic Spring Water. Oh, by the way, I forgot to show you a Greek night scarf here. That's what I'm wearing. That's the addition to the costume tonight. But yeah, Skira Icelandic Spring Water, sponsor of the show from day one. Couldn't be here without them. Icelandic for clear, Skira water comes from a spring in a government-protected nature preserve in Iceland with naturally low mineral content. This isn't your average water. Clearly, pun intended, it's one of the best. Skira Icelandic spring water is available at your local 7-Eleven, and with the weather warming up, with the tailgates going, with the grilling going, with all the outdoor festivities that are coming to the Chicagoland area and in the city, of course, make sure you stay hydrated. Have a bottle of Skira. It's some of the most pure water. If you don't know the geography of Iceland, it's a very volcanic island, right? It's formed by a volcano. So all the water that's there has to filter up through this porous volcanic rock, which filters out a lot of the things that you don't want in your drinking water. And that's what makes Skira so good. So go out and find a bottle or 3 at your local 7-Eleven. Now, I know I said I would be positive all night, and I think I've kept true to that. But I never said anything about our featured guest, John Donovan. As you know, he's always got some pointed takes with all things going on with the Chicago Fire. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to him, fresh off of his trip from Europe and some of his European soccer matches that he attended. I'll let him tell you all about that. Take it away, John.
Nick, John Donovan here talking about the Chicago Fire and the MLS. Nick, I looked at the standings and oh my Lord, the Fire are in their very similar position as the last 14 years. They're in 12th place and the teams below them, I just can't believe they're going to remain there. I mean, they're dealing with Orlando, Nashville, some really good squads that have a lot of talent and much better coaching. So, other than New England this year, I got to say the Fire are by far the second worst team in soccer. It's hard to say that because I know old Joe Mansueto has put out a lot of dough, but he's put it out at the directions of some really weak management and a very poor coach. So where do we go from here? I was pleasantly surprised at the start of the Chicago Fire game. It ended up as a 0-0 tie, and there's not often that you could say it was an exciting game, but it was an exciting game. There was, I think, 6 off the post shots, 3 for each squad. Very, very difficult. The most valuable player by far for the Chicago Fire and probably for the game was the young man Brady. I mean, this guy has great moves. And to think he's, 19 years old, I don't think we will have him next year. He has really lit up. He had some saves that were just mind-boggling. He kept them in the game. There's no doubt about it. But the starting of the game, I thought it was quite interesting. Thank the Lord that Shaqiri wasn't around. I don't know whether he's hurt or they benched him or whatever. But between Shaqiri and Federico Navarro, you've got 2 losers that just can't pull the game together. Their attitudes, their red card tendencies, or just their card tendencies, arguing referees, arguing with fellow players. It just is not the environment to have a player or a team develop under. So in this game, I thought it was kind of interesting that he put Koutsias out there as a 2-forward group. And I thought he was the most dangerous of the forwards. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of enthusiasm. He's a young man. He's big and strong. I would settle into this kind of rotation. I really liked the way Koutsias played. I thought he was the best forward of the game. It was a game that highlighted Almeida. I really, you look at Almeida and you look at his moves, and then you look at Messi's moves, and they're very similar. That first step off the ball, he beats everybody. I mean, he's just waiting for the other player to make a move so he can get around him. Very talented player. He's going to be gone. Hopefully he sticks around for the whole season, I hope. And then he's transferred next year. But, there's a tendency in this league to sell him off in the middle of the summer. I just came back from Europe watching 2 soccer games. Paris Saint-Germain versus Lyon and Manchester City versus Chelsea. And Almeida has the kind of talent to play in that league, without a doubt. There is a distinct difference in the MLS and, say, the Premiership, or especially the better teams in the league. Lyon, I didn't think they were spectacular. I thought, the Columbus Crew and Lyon could probably play each other quite effectively. But, the upper divisions, the Manchester City and the Paris Saint-Germain teams are just super talented, super talented. I went to a game in London, Nick, and a friend of mine warned me that after the game, I had my grandson with me. He said, keep him inside between you and your son. And lo and behold, I mean, the London crowd is really violent after games. They start chanting, and inevitably those chants run into fights. And we saw, just on the way to the train station, we saw 5 fights. Cops got in there real quick, but real damage done on these fights. Cops had him sitting down with handcuffs. Pretty embarrassing. You go out for a night for a good evening, and you end up back in the jail. It just doesn't seem to be a way to have a good time. But then you go to Paris, and we watched Paris Saint-Germain, and it was just such a chilled back. I mean, it was interesting during the game, but the talent was just enormous. Mbati did not play, but it didn't matter. They've got some talent on that squad, right down into 17-year-olds playing for one of the world's best teams. So very exciting. But back to the game, I got into the game right as it started, so I didn't see all the positioning. But I think Klopas made the right moves up front. Not having Shaqiri on the field helped a lot. I mean, the flow really seemed to go well. But he played with a 3-man back because of the 2 forwards. And, my opinion is if you have Pineda in there, you've got a steady, very solid defenseman. Although I would prefer seeing him playing midfield. But Sejos, they played out to the left side, and he just is not, he's not in that position. He's not a winger. He doesn't help the offense at all. He's there for head balls during crosses, but he's just not a winger. And you're playing with fire when you play somebody out of position, which Frank Klopas does all the time. And then Salquist is, my opinion, he's just not a good player. He's made some real tragic mistakes. In this game, Brady pulled him out of another tragic mistake where first half, he just loses. He loses where he's at. You've got to be keen on these guys. And somebody broke in and had a score, but it was called back. I think it was onside personally, but he kept dragging himself back, and I think he put the Atlanta team onside. But the referee was an exceptionally bad referee this game. He just didn't seem to have control. He let the players talk too much to him. I mean, you run the game. You don't have the game run you if you're the ref. So it was an interesting game. He had Mueller out to the right side, and I think Mueller is somebody they need on the field. He's clever. He can get the ball into the forwards, where Selassie was doing fairly well. I like to see Mueller on the left side and Selassie up front on the right with Gutierrez underneath. But, there's always that 8.2 million Shaqiri shadow that has to justify Joe Mansueto buying him. And it's just not working out. And I have to wonder whether the Belgium forward, Kuipers, whether he's really working out. He's got a total of 2 goals, and he cost 12.2 million. So our DPs are just not kicking it for the Fire. It's there's one more DP that they could sign, but I certainly hope that they don't, because you can't see Klopas and Heinz and all those guys coming back next year. It would be literally the biggest middle finger to Chicago that Mansueto could do. He made a huge mistake this summer in keeping hold of Klopas. But back to the game, it was a very touch and go game. There was a lot of off posts. Again, Brady had a marvelous game. I mean, the guy is quick, tough, tall, and fast, and smart, which is a big thing in soccer. My contentions about a team is you have to have talent, you have to have coaching, and you have to have intelligent players. Now, we have played with some very weak coaching and some very unsmart players. You want to look at players that have lost games. The Navarro brothers, not brothers, but last names, they've lost a ton of games. Terran has not been playing well almost for a year now. He's really been very unpredictable. And I think Sijos is starting to really struggle. I think his career is about done. I don't see them signing him next year. I think he just looks tired out there. He doesn't look like the guy he was when he started with us. I wrote a letter to Frank Klopas, and I talked about talent, smarts, and coaching. And, you've got Pineda out there. He should always be on the field. He's a rock steady player, and he should be playing up with Pineda or with Acosta. I'm sorry. That should be your starting 2 defensive midfields. And Olmsberg should be one of the center fullbacks on the team. He's smart. He's rough. He's fast. But a key of everything is he's smart. He doesn't make stupid errors like Terran has made and the Navarros have made. Arangoni, good move. The guy can play. I think he's working his way into being an effective wingman. He's getting up the field. It's kind of nice to watch. So, we're walking into the game against New England, which is just struggling. I mean, they are struggling like nobody's business. I can't remember a New England team doing so poorly. Miami just crushed them. Messi just tore them apart. It just wasn't much of a game. So hopefully the Fire can come away with 3 points in this game. And, that's the only weak team that they play. The MLS is loaded. And, I kind of had Salt Lake City and New England as 2 wins, and obviously Salt Lake City just wailed on them. So we'll have to see what happens. I hope Klopas stays with Koutsias up front. I'd like to see him get Gutierrez in the middle. Mueller on the left and Selassie on the right. And I'd like to see Pineda and Acosta up there and Olmsberg underneath with Dean and Aragoni. I think that Sijos is time for him to sit. So, hello, Mike. Enjoyed this. I'm sorry it's a little bit long, Nick. But, I look forward to this every week. It makes me watch the game. Take care, Nick. Hi, Mike.
John, thanks as always for your contributions to the show. It would not nearly be as fun doing this without having you on every week and for having all of our off-air conversations, text messages. So thank you so much for being a part of everything we're doing here at Feed the Fire. Now, fans, we're going to turn our attention to the New England Revolution match coming up. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because not only is this episode already running pretty long, we already saw the New England Revolution play the Chicago Fire. This was back on March 23rd. The Fire went up to New England and came back with a 1-1 draw. Kuipers opened his scoring account in MLS in this match early on in the half, but it was Nacho Hill with a first half stoppage time equalizer, and that's how the result stayed 1-1. Not the Fire's greatest moment, being unable to win that one. They ended up with 38% possession that game, 338 passes, only 2 shots on goal, but I guess if you want to buy into the idea that a point on the road is good, especially in the Eastern Conference, okay, fine, they got a point on the road, but New England is the worst team, and the Fire now need 3 points at home. They're 10 points in 10 games, and that's like, we always, every year, it's like the Fire are doing this, and the criticism is starting to come in that Ezra Hendrickson was fired under similar results. Rafa Wicki was fired under similar or worse results, or maybe just not getting it done or similar fashion over several years. So now the attention is starting to turn towards Frank Klopas in the front office because the Fire are in the exact same position they have been with several different managers, several different front offices, and several different players and rosters, several different managers. People are starting to look to the front office to say, when you have the same results, poor results, after 2 or 3 bites at the apple, then you need to start looking at the front office with much more scrutiny and perhaps with an axe, right? We see the supporters' axe getting ready to sound the alarm, and maybe someone needs to take an axe to the front office at some point. Not literally, of course, not literally, figuratively. Let me say that. I'm sorry that I have to say it. It's the claims lawyer than me, though. I'm going to say it just to be sure. But that's where the criticism now is starting to focus. It's starting to go up the ladder, as these things tend to do. So, New England, just to recap things, they are at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Nay, the bottom of... wait, no. They are .04 points per game higher than San Jose right now. I don't know if they would be ahead of them in the Supporter Shield standings. Let me pull that up. And no, New England is at the very bottom of the Supporter Shield standing right now. They have 9 games played, 4 points only, a win, a draw, and 7 losses with a negative 12 goal differential. They are 0-4 on the road, 4 losses on the road. And so hopefully the Chicago Fire will take advantage of playing the worst team in MLS at home after what I will call a positive performance against a good Atlanta United team. Now, we talked about the last time the Chicago Fire played New England. They just couldn't get things going. They came out with the road mentality of let's just get a point on the road. New England, bad team, did just enough to save the point at home and kind of stop their free fall early on in the season, though they picked it right back up shortly thereafter. Now, New England, let's take a look at their lineup. This is how they lined up in their last week's match, a thrashing by Miami 4-1. Though they did score a goal in the very first minute. Shankly had a goal in the very first minute, and then it was all Miami after that. So they have Ravas in goal, and going from left to right along the back line, it's a 4-2-3-1. Lima, Kessler, Arriaga, and Farrell. Their D-mids, Polster and Mark-Anthony Kaye. Your attacking mids, Boateng, Carlos Hill, and Nacho Hill, the two brothers in the midfield. And then up front, Thomas Chancalay. Coming off the bench, they had Ryan Spalding, who's provided some flashes, other than just having a very unique and outstanding haircut. He has provided some flashes. You've got Dylan Barrero, who knows his way around the league. You have Giacomo Vrioni, who's their DP striker, who just hasn't been able to get it going. Maybe it's as a result of what's going on with the team and the club and a bigger organization. There's a lot of issues going on, as we know, with Bruce Arena and bringing in a coach and all this other sort of thing. But still, you got to put that aside when you step out on the field, and Vrioni has not been producing at a DP level this season for one reason or another. I would love to see Jack Panayotou, a Greek here, get some time and kind of work his way into almost a starting role, or the rotating guy, spot starter. Right now he's kind of squarely on the bench. Also, I have him on my fantasy bench because I figure there's one game he's going to come in, make a play, his value is going to go up, and then I can make a little money off of him. They also have Thiago, Ian Harkes, and John David Gunn on the bench. So that's what we're looking at from New England. Obviously, we all know how dangerous Carlos Hill can be with his ball movement, with his dribbling, with his passing, how he can unlock defenses. Boateng with the speed, Nacho Hill with the speed and striking ability, and Polster, Mark Anthony Kaye, a lot of physical play in the middle, similarly with Javier Arriaga and Henry Kessler. So this will be a difficult game for Chicago Fire strikers. Also, we know Andrew Farrell, Nick Lima, very physical defenders. So that, again, it'll be a tough game, but I hope the Chicago Fire keep this 4-4-2 lineup and try to confuse some of that New England defense, maybe get those physical, overly aggressive players to bite if Kuipers is going to drop a little deeper and open that space up for Koutsias, who hopefully can make his second start of the season, consecutive starts for him, depending on what Klopas and co. want to do. So that's what I would look for. I would look for the Fire to come out with a similar game plan tactically, as well as a similar motivation, really pumped up and see, like almost tasting 3 points in this match. And I'm going to predict that it is a 3-1 victory. The Fire have had 2 clean sheets. There's been some shaky defense. Brady's not always going to be able to bail them out, but I think as bad as New England has been, and for them to come to Chicago now, as bad as they've been, their road form is even worse, and the Fire have this big lift after this game against Atlanta. If I see Shaqiri in the starting 11, all bets are off. But if we can get a repeat, similar lineup, similar performance out of the Fire than this last weekend, I'll take 3-1. I told you, it's positive. It's a positive night here on Feed the Fire. You don't get them too often, so we're gonna use it as much as we can. Now, oh my gosh, well, how much longer do we have? Oh, yeah, plenty of time here. So we're going to switch from MLS now to MLS Play, Chicago Fire Play, to MLS Expansion, and the expansion news out of Indianapolis. Now, this has a lot of people up in arms. Here's what you need to know. The Indy 11, club in the USL Championship, mixed success on the pitch. More often than not, they have better seasons. They have winning seasons and losing seasons. But, mixed results on the pitch. Indianapolis, great sports town. Indy 11 want a bid for an MLS franchise. I was at a game in 2019. My wonderful wife, for my birthday, said, let's go down to Indy, we'll spend the weekend, we'll catch up with some of your law school classmates, and we'll go to an Indy 11 game at Lucas Oil Stadium. And we had a great time, and I was talking to a lot of ticket reps down there, people part of the Indy 11 organization, who were saying, we've got a 5-year plan. We are trying to get 20,000, was it 20,000? Like sell 20,000 tickets and maybe get like 5,000 to 10,000 minimum season tickets before they start talking about stadiums, and then eventually get it to the point where they can get up to 20,000 season ticket deposits, really try a la St. Louis kind of a thing, right? So that was their 5-year plan, was to, starting in 2019, build up an already solid fan base. I saw guys there with Indy 11, like NAI or NISA jersey patches on. Like, these people have been following Indianapolis since their founding, and they've built a great following. They've built a pretty decent USL Championship club, I might add. And as a result of that, now Indy has broken ground on a new stadium development, park complex, all this stuff, and it's all part of their plans. Beautiful stadium renderings. Obviously, everything looks great in renderings, but beautiful renderings. However, over the weekend or late last week, we see an announcement come from Indianapolis's mayor that Indianapolis is going to be submitting a bid for an MLS franchise. And it turns out that he does not make mention at all of the Indy 11 being that club. He's been in meetings with Don Garber and probably other MLS executives, and the speculation has been they're doing a little end around here, and they're going to try and get some new, bigger money, bigger investor, whatever it is, to come in and be the MLS ownership group, not the Indy 11. And here's an article from Fox 59 News down in Indianapolis that I think sums it up pretty succinctly. Tagline: developer claims city is backing out of Indy 11 stadium deal. Hogsett denies allegations. Mayor Joe Hogsett. And if you're gonna be in politics with Hogg in your last name, you better be a darn good public relations politician. So here's how it starts off. Indianapolis-based Keystone Group, the company working to develop 11 Park, made claims Thursday that the city was backing out of a good faith deal. This came hours before Mayor Joe Hogsett announced an effort to bring an MLS team to Indy. Since being announced in June of 2022, Keystone's been working to develop a $1 billion, 18-acre complex on the western border of downtown Indy. Sidebar here, great location. There's hotels, Lucas Oil Stadium's not too far. They already have their minor league baseball team nearby with their newer stadium. So great area for it, near the river. It's going to be great. The complex was to be centered around a 20,000-seat multi-purpose stadium intended to serve as the home field for the Indy 11 USL Championship soccer team. Okay, so maybe not 20,000 season tickets, but 20,000 seats. According to previous reports, 11 Park was planned to include 600-plus apartments, a music venue, retail and office space, green spaces, and a public parking garage. The complex was to be built between some of the city's major sports venues, Victory Field, where their baseball team plays, and Lucas Oil Stadium. Let's see if there's anything else to really dive into. If it went according to plan, they'd begin playing there at summer 2025. Now Keystone Group is claiming the plans are in jeopardy due to the city of Indianapolis pulling out of a previously agreed upon deal. And here's what Keystone Group said in their release. Quote, unfortunately, after recent bipartisan approvals from the city county council, Mayor Joe Hogsett's administration is preparing to walk away from the state and city leaders who entrusted him with this project and the neighborhoods who are depending on the progress 11 Park represents. End quote. So very, very damning statement there. Very indicting statement there. Now, it did double in budget. And here's the other side of things. The initial costs were to be $500 million. It's gone up to $100 billion. And so that is starting to kind of eat away at some of the credibility that this is all on the mayor. However, these allegations that are being thrown around by the mayor's side now, Indy residents are saying are troubling, are disappointing, are concerning, and the fact that if he's going to pull out of it, same thing. Let's see. This is more than disappointing. It's a shocking reversal of the mayor's public support for the project, for the dozens of local investors, the thousands of jobs committed by Indiana companies who've been working on this project, and tens of thousands of Indy 11 fans in Indiana across the country. So that's another line from the development group. Let's see. Now they're getting into kind of the mayor's office thing. They really don't give too much detail. Rather, they cite to another article with the mayor's office's full statement, but according to the mayor's office, they're not walking away from anything, but did not provide additional details. And go search this up at Fox 59 Indy if you want more details on this, or just Google it. There's other sources that are covering it. Now, I don't know local politics, so I'm not going to speak to that. I don't know local Indianapolis politics, but whatever's going on here just sucks for the fans first and foremost. Like, you have seen not just the fans support a team and have them rise from the lowest ranks of U.S. soccer to now almost the highest ranks of U.S. soccer. It sucks for the organization, the ownership, the executives, all the people who have put in their blood, sweat, and tears to build this club into a major league soccer level organization and team to now have the rug seemingly pulled out from underneath them by the mayor in what looks to be and what sounds to be kind of a unilateral move. So is it political posturing by the mayor's office to broker a better deal and renegotiate for a more city-friendly deal from Keystone Group or from some of these other people? Is this just the mayor and his office kind of kissing up to MLS? Is he getting some sort of deal that we don't know about, that MLS is working with him? Is it really MLS just trying to kill USL and kill another USL club? I don't know the answers to all that, so let's kind of talk through some of these things here, right? Companies do want to eliminate competition, and I don't think it's a secret that MLS does not want to compete with USL. They want to be the preeminent soccer organization here in the United States, and they have done everything they can to do that, and yes, they have done it through direct competition with USL. So if anyone says I'm shocked by that or how dare they, it should not come as a surprise based on just the nature of businesses and companies and what MLS has track record is. The other thing though, just kind of keep in the back of your head, the MLS doesn't have a moral obligation to grow the sport of soccer and to give opportunities to the kids. They don't have a moral obligation to do that. They don't have a moral obligation to partner with USL and grow things, right? They have an obligation to their investors, to their shareholders, just like any other business. I know that's not a popular argument, but it's there. But in doing so, I think MLS has recognized the best way to get your return on your investment is to develop players and build infrastructure and do all these things. And that's what MLS wants to do. Eventually, yeah, they want to have a soccer monopoly in the United States. For right or wrong, that's what they want to do. And it's going to be up to the U.S. Soccer Federation to put a check on that or try to. We saw that maybe with U.S. Open Cup. They backed down from that real quick. But again, it's not the MLS's job or moral obligation to grow soccer in the country. That's what U.S. Soccer is for. That's what the U.S. Soccer Federation is. That's what AYSO's mission statement is, right? So the MLS isn't going to think of themselves as some do-gooder soccer developments. They're going to go out into maybe in the individual club level and the individual franchise level. Absolutely, they want to build up their own ecosystem within their city and their club. And we're seeing that with the Chicago Fire going out and setting up youth camps and expanding discovery camps so that they can start scouting U8s and U10s and start providing opportunities for them. Really helping develop the new training facility, bringing new jobs, new businesses, all these sort of things, getting involved in the community. So you're seeing it at the franchise level. But as the league level, that's not what their goal is. Their goal is to become the soccer monopoly. Wherever you fall on that, that's what the fact is, right? And I'm trying not to let my true feelings, whatever they may be, I'm kind of in the middle at this point, come out. And in this case, it's not like MLS came in and swooped away and stole a club, as some people are alleging, like they're saying that since the MLS did with Cincinnati and Orlando, to name a couple examples, that the MLS came in and said, nope, you got to join our league now, or do you want to join our league? Like, get out of USL. Like, two of the most successful clubs in USL, all of a sudden we're going to jump ship to MLS and then lower the quality of the next league. They're coming in almost as a direct competition to the USL club in Indianapolis, if you are to believe what is true from the mayor's office. The flip side to this, let me present the other side here, is twofold. USL's got to put a better product to keep their owners in USL, or to compete with MLS if that's what they want to do, if that's what their goal is to do, if they want to become the recognized top tier in the United States, or if they want to try to convince U.S. Soccer to grant dual Tier 1 status to MLS and USL, they've got to start convincing their owners to not jump ship and to stay and develop USL, and they better do it quick. Whatever it is, whether it's putting pro rel in with USL, getting international club partnerships like we're starting to see a lot of MLS clubs have, brokering bigger media deals, exposure, whatever it is, they better do it quick. The other side of this coin is, yeah, everyone, you can blame the MLS all you want to, but yeah, the owners of these USL clubs are the ones making the decision to jump ship and go to Major League Soccer or put in a bid for Major League Soccer. So pressure your owners to stay in the USL then, if you're worried about MLS killing USL. And again, I'm trying not to take a side here. I'm trying to present both sides of the issue here and the arguments that I've seen put forth out there and kind of let you all make your decision on it. Personally, I think that MLS trying to supplant Indy 11 and kill Indy 11, if that's what you think it is, starting another club there, I think it's stupid. I mean, New York and LA, they can sustain 2 MLS teams and other clubs. You know, the Chicago area has the Chicago Fire as their MLS club, and gosh, about a dozen other semi-pro, amateur, semi-pro, pro clubs at the USL, varying ranks. You know, the Chicago area probably could support a second MLS club if they wanted to, but definitely a USL championship club if one of the local ones is going to aspire to get to that. But Indianapolis, as much of a sports town as it is, and as much as soccer has grown there, I don't know if Indy is going to be able to support an MLS club and a USL club. So I think the fact that MLS trying to go in there to an already established USL environment, and those are diehard Indy 11 fans, I think it's a stupid idea for Major League Soccer. I think so. MLS isn't stupid, right? You can say they're evil, but they're not stupid. And so this is either some sort of posturing move here, or I don't know what to say, or they really do want to expand into, a 40, 50 team, 60 team MLS and then subdivide it into East and West or East Central West, or have Pro Rel within MLS eventually as they decide to dominate, take over, and destroy everything else in their wake. So that's kind of my take on it. MLS has some long-term plan to grow the league to 40 or 60 teams and then subdivide it into 3 different divisions of 20 teams each, whether it's whether it's a vertical subdivision, you have 3 tiers in MLS, or you have 3 geographic divisions in MLS that eventually will all come into a playoff system. I don't know, but I haven't seen anything from that would indicate that that's what MLS's long-term plans are. It's just, I think, reasonable speculation to this point. So I sympathize with the fans, first and foremost, especially the Indy 11 fans, who are now kind of put in this awkward limbo of, I thought we were going to be the MLS team, or is this going to kill the team that we've supported? But without more context, this just does seem like a stupid growth for growth's sake move by Major League Soccer. And I'll leave it at that. I'll let you make up your decision. You can leave your comments. You can leave your thoughts in the comment section on YouTube or in the poll response on Spotify. You can hit me up on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media at Glasshouse Soccer, or email me, glasshouseSoccer@gmail.com. And with that, we're going to wrap the show. Please continue to share the show. Expand our audience, help me out growing here. Click like, give a 5-star review. Little things you can do that go a long way for promoting things online like this podcast. I also want to wish all my Orthodox brethren out there, Kali Anastasi, Blessed Pascha, Happy Easter this upcoming weekend. I will be grilling out at 1 o'clock in the morning after the midnight resurrection services, and we break the fast and eat the lamb and go back to the meat and the cheeseburgers and the hot dogs and all of that. That's my family tradition. So I'll be grilling at 1 in the morning, breaking the fast there. And as always, thanks for listening. Let's go Fire.